Hello, friends. This is Mina, Estrada, producer and co-host of Dream Club. Thank you for joining us for episode 3, Q&A and TNA. Liz and I toss around a few dream-related questions about the first dreams we can remember. We hypothesize about the fantastical idea of technological advancement that could allow us to see each other's dreams and the ethical dilemmas that would follow. And we wonder if there's a dream gene that gets passed down from parent to child. That's the Q&A part. And then we introduce a listener-submitted dream that brings us to the age-old question, which do you prefer, topless or bottomless? Spoiler alert, we do not agree.
So, do you remember your first dream? Or the first dream that you can remember? How old were you?
Okay. Oh my gosh. I can remember some very early dreams. Like I can remember dreaming about my Little Pony
How old were
dolls.
you?
I was probably 5 or 6.
Okay, same.
Yeah, that's the earliest I can remember. I had some My Little Ponies and I had some My Little Pony lipstick, and I was really excited to try that out in the
Yeah.
dream. And I think I remembered it because I just really wanted that. It was just a thing I really wanted to have. And I was like, I wonder if I could find that. Do they make lipstick for My Little Ponies? I don't know. What about you?
The first dream that I can remember, I was 5 years old, and I can still, not just remember, like I can see it. So, to go to elementary school, I lived really, really close. So you had to walk down my street, take a right turn, and then the very next left turn was my school. Like you could see it. It was kind of a little bit off in the distance, but not by much. And the distance between us and the school was just like the playground area. So when I was 5 years old, that was a reoccurring theme for me, is that I'd be walking to school, I'd take the right turn, I'd turn left to go to the school, and something would be different. Something would be wrong. And so the first one I remember is I'm walking, I turn, I look, and I must have just watched like some sort of National Geographic or something. Like it was like an Amazon rainforesty perhaps kind of thing. There's like huts, mud. It wasn't my playground is what I'm saying. So I saw it and I was like, oh no. And then I turned around to go back home, and it was just a big brick wall. And when I looked up, like the brick wall went all the way to the sky. Like I must have also just been introduced to tall buildings. And so I was like, oh no, how am I going to get home? Dream's over. And then, but this was a reoccurring thing. I would walk, turn, something's different about the school, something's wrong. I would turn around, and then now my neighborhood's different. And then that evolved into me finally having enough courage, and perhaps because I was getting older and I understood my neighborhood more, that I would walk down, like I'd be like, oh, this isn't my neighborhood, but it's kind of my neighborhood. I think if I go down this street, maybe if I turn and go this other way, I'll find my house.
One of my questions on my things to ask Mina,
Mm-hmm.
if we had the ability to see into people's minds and read their dreams, do you think we should?
Okay, wait a minute.
Because I would love to be able to share that with people, but I'd be afraid once I opened it up that everything would be out there, because I've had some really weird, gross dreams about taboo things.
Oh, yeah.
That I wake up and am very, have some very confusing feelings about.
Sure.
And it's all very hypothetical because I don't think that can happen. Although I thought I read or heard somewhere recently that technology is evolving. And so there are rudimentary ways of understanding what people are dreaming about.
No.
So part of what was in this episode of Radio Lab that I listened to, and this episode was 13 years old, was this researcher at MIT who did this experiment with rats, and they would have rats go through a maze. They would teach them a maze, and they would have to do the same thing every day, all day.
Yeah.
And then they would plug into these little rats' brains when they were sleeping. And so rats, I guess their brains are pretty mappable because they're tiny.
Mm-hmm.
So this researcher spent so much time with them that he could tell just from the feedback noise of this monitor where the rats were in the maze, because he just knew what the sounds were that generated in this little monitor. So when they went to sleep, he kept listening to them just kind of on a whim and heard the same sounds. So he knew that they were going through the maze again, and he could hear left, right, forward, stop, turn around, like same thing.
Right.
They're going through the exact same maze. Then they had them go through 2 mazes, and that night they didn't dream the exact. They combined them in different ways in their sleep. So it was like they were taking these 2 experiences and inventing new ones.
Yeah.
There was this whole theory about why we dream and what dreams are for, and how it's about learning, recombining experiences in ways that our conscious mind won't really allow us to because it's nonsensical.
Right.
But just testing things out in really weird ways. So all that to say that yes, there are some ways of tapping into dreams and reading what's going on in dreams. It's just a very simple, rudimentary way for rats.
So number one, we need to find these people. We need to find whoever is doing dream experimentation, trying to build technology for this. They need to know about the podcast, and we need to know about them. So I'm going to start with that. So I'm going to answer your question, which was, should we? If we were capable, should we? Okay, so this is really hard for me to answer. Ethically, I do see that once you can open sort of that pathway, then, because I feel like that with the internet, right? Like, and people talk about this all the time, how if you just talk about something enough around your phone, all of a sudden ads pop up about that thing that you've been talking about, even though you haven't been Googling about it, right? This happens to me, and I hate it. So I feel like it's a dangerous portal to open to say, like, there's optional times to get into somebody's dream, right? However, it would be so tempting, just like any other technology is so tempting, right? Because if it meant that somebody else could see my dreams the way that I see my dreams, it would bring me some kind of like deep delight. I consider my dream world to be very similar to like my creative portal world, right? Like the place where I go to make dances. And my making dances is basically me taking this vivid information and trying to like figure out how to make it manifest in real life with normal human beings. So if I could just let somebody see it, holy moly, like what a gift. But also then, yes, once you have access to it, ethically, how are we managing that information? And if I do have dreams that are that could put me in a questionable place, because you would see the content and be like, well, what is she dreaming this about? Or why is she dreaming this? Like, I don't want to answer those questions. And also, I don't have the answers for those questions. So
do you think that the propensity for being a really vivid dreamer and remembering your dreams is hereditary? Because you said this is how you bonded with your mom.
Yeah.
And I just keep wondering, are my kids gonna be the same way? Or is it just a level of interest that kind of feeds into that experience?
I think that my mother is a vivid dreamer, and it was a thing that we could bond on. And it did feel like, as I was telling her my dreams, that she wasn't like confused by it, you know? On the other hand, my father, confused by it. My father claims that he never dreamt. And every time I talk about dreams in front of him, he would just be like, how and why? Like it didn't make any sense to me. Meanwhile, my mother was like, oh yeah. Tell me more. I get it. I can see it. If it is hereditary, if it is some sort of genetic process, then I'm glad that I picked up my mom's genes on that. And then it makes me wonder, is that a thing? Like, is the mother's dream gene, oh my God, the dream gene, if that is like sort of the dominant one
Right.
in this process.
I
And
have a lot of thoughts. I think it partly is hereditary because I think in some way it's connected to just your sleep patterns.
sure.
I think part of the reason that I remember my dreams so well and so often is because I don't sleep well. I wake up often. I wake up too early sometimes and then drift off back to sleep. I just have a lot of sleep disturbances, and my mom is the same way. And so I know I got my sleep disposition from her also just based on what I've been reading, because I started a book. This book is called Why We Dream by Alice Robb. And in this book, Alice Robb says that you can influence how much and how often you remember your dreams just simply by thinking about it, paying attention to it,
Okay.
saying it during the day, keeping a dream journal, even if you just write in the morning, nothing to report.
Right.
Nothing to report, because it just kind of puts you in the mindset that whatever happens, you're going to write about it the next day. And
Right.
subconsciously that just works its way in. So during the night, you are dreaming and you realize that you're dreaming. So we've already started the experiment, but for anybody listening or watching, or we should just put this out there to people. If you start thinking about it and start writing it down, did you start dreaming more?
Yeah.
I dreamt this morning that I was having an important meeting for work, and I was #killing it, feeling good, until I realized that I was wearing business casual on top and rotted sweatpants covered in barbecue sauce stains on the bottom. Like some kind of nightmare style mullet. I remember thinking, shit, I hope nobody has noticed. Which I've also had this dream before.
What?
Except in my dream, instead of being underdressed, I am nude on the bottom.
Oh, okay.
I'm walking around naked. And I feel like the naked dream is a dream that you hear about a lot. Like it's one of the most famous dreams, just kind of dropped in like random pop culture references, like showing up naked at your high school.
Yeah.
And when I finally did have the naked dream, it didn't feel like it does in movies where you're just kind of fully aware. It kind of happens gradually, kind of like she's saying, like she's doing well.
Yeah.
She's killing it. Part of her is the way that it's supposed to be. And then you realize. And so always in my dream, I realized that I have chosen to go to this place nude.
Oh.
And that maybe it wasn't the right choice. That maybe I should not have gone to work without my pants and underwear on.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to play it off.
Right.
Or just like that I can't just immediately cover myself, that I just kind of have to keep giving my talk, finish a spreadsheet, whatever. Yeah.
The only naked dream I can even recall having involved my elementary school, but I was older. And I can still see it right now. I'm wearing a t-shirt. At some point, I just realized I don't have pants on. Like the t-shirt covers just enough. But it doesn't seem at all like a problem for anybody. I didn't feel normal, but at the same time, I didn't feel panicked. I just, like you said, I became aware of it. Like I was like, I don't have any pants on.
Common theme in all three of these dreams is that everything's okay up here and things start to disintegrate down here below the waist. So it's like specifically we're more vulnerable being nude from the bottom, which is true. Definitely worse if I were to imagine a real life scenario and I had to pick top or bottom.
Yeah.
I would definitely, choose neither, but bottom would be worse.
Yeah.
To just show up at a meeting bottomless. That's insane.
Well,
so what is it about that scenario that gives us why this dream?
I'm going to argue this. I actually think in a normal situation, I would prefer to show up to a meeting bottomless, because we're probably going to sit at a desk or something. So that at least
you got to walk in.
Sure.
I'm saying in a fully exposed situation.
Okay.
Like you're walking around in the grocery store, and then suddenly one article of clothing or one side of your body has to go nude. I don't know. I just feel like the bottom's way worse.
Okay, but I'm still going to go bottom because here's why. I feel like
that.
here's the thing. I feel like, again, in a situation where I'm at the grocery store, people are not going to look at my bottom first. They're going to look at my face and my upper. Like when they see me, they're going to be like, "Oh, okay," and then they're going to be like, "Oh," and
Right.
maybe by then it's too late. Like I feel like if I were topless, it would be immediate. They'd be like, "Oh, that woman's boobs are out." But if I was bottomless, also I have a cart in front of me, perhaps. Like I don't know. I just feel like if if somebody challenged me and said, "Mina, you have to go either topless or bottomless out in public right now, no dream. I'm not in a dream."
Mm-hmm.
I would go bottomless. Just gonna say it.
We're so different.
Yeah.
We're so different.
So, for this one, do we want to say goodnight to each other?
We can, but I have a shorty. I have a.
You do? Okay.
Do you want to hear it?
I do.
You ready?
I'm ready.
The best roast beef sandwiches in Colorado. That's it. That's the dream. That's what I remember.
And then credits.
Sleep.